Well, good morning, everybody. Bright and early here at Spa-Francorchamps once again, this time for qualifying 2 and Group B getting us underway this time. Of course, we saw plenty of action yesterday, and certainly Tim Tramnitz back again at the top. And he's getting a little bit used to it too after setting the fastest times in the morning test in certainly Wednesday. We came then yesterday, where he once again did exactly the same in collective test 2. Following that of Rafael Camara's fastest lap in collective test 1. He would then go on to take P1 in qualifying and surpassing all the groups, becoming the fastest man between both Group A and Group B, and therefore he now holds on to pole position with his group forming in behind him when we go racing tomorrow. That, of course, deciding Saturday's morning race. This qualifying session, though, in particular will decide the race later today. So naturally now we'll see Group B head out. Obviously roles reversed as opposed to what we saw in qualifying yesterday. Obviously with Group A getting us underway. This time it's all down to Group B to get us started here in qualifying, and we'll go through that group order as well. Andrea Kimi Antonelli, he'll be one of the drivers as part of this contingent, with Tim Tramnitz as well, the man who set the fastest lap yesterday. Joshua Dufek as well in this lineup. Matteo Capietto, Sami Megatuniv, Michael Belov, Victor Bernier, Delano Van 't Hoff, Roman Belinsky, Levente Ravesh, Owen Tangavellu, Maya Weyug as well, Alexander Partyshev and Emerson Fittipaldi Jr., Adam Fitzgerald, Giovanni Maschio and Hadrian David, the wild card for ART this weekend. We alluded to him a little bit yesterday, of course, a former race winner in FRECA as well in Formula Regional European Championship, and he's back again this time as the wildcard entry for ART. Great to have him back as well as part of this championship. A tenacious character, a winner at Monaco last year as well, and also a winner at Hungaroring and Red Bull Ring in 2022 with our race GP, and in fact finished P2 at Spa last year in race 2, which is of course this year going to come up tomorrow. But as you can already see, the cars getting themselves ready to go. Here at Spa-Francorchamps, we witnessed some rain late last night, so whether that will cause any concern, certainly for the drivers in terms of track conditions, we will have to wait and see. Obviously, it has had ample time to dry up. The sun is out, and by the looks of the skies, as I look out of my commentary box, there is vastly more brighter shades of blue to be seen out in the sky, but there is still scattered clouds everywhere. Not quite as grey as yesterday, but they are still there. As we now pan the pictures across and have a look at this very picturesque view from the woods, the forests of Stavelot here in the Ardennes forest. No better setting here to go racing than here at Spa-Francorchamps, a circuit that has graced many with some of the best in the world, some of the legends that have also raced around this track. Programmed back in the 24th of February 1989, opening up on August of 1921. 20 corners await the drivers here for this second session of qualifying. Of course, many of the drivers as well having to combat issues out on track. We did see briefly a steward's note come through against Joshua Dirksen heading through the Jochenrink curve. It was then taken back, and of course losing out the time that would have garnered him a P3 in yesterday's session. He went down to P5 just briefly, but the stewards reversing the decision and therefore deeming that it was a valid lap. So he does regain that P3. So great news for the Paraguayan heading into this one. Not so much good luck certainly for Marcus Armand, of course, the man who was part of the Sauber Driver Academy. He sustained a 2-place grid penalty after impeding a faster car, that being Matthias Zagazzetta, through turn 19 at bus stop. We of course saw many cars getting a little tied up through that final sector as well, but it's now all up to the drivers this time around. A new fresh day, the spectators out in force as well. It's a very, very busy weekend. The paddocks are full. Obviously we've got the Formula 1 paddock, that is currently chock-a-block as well, and then further back as well, more cars packed with cars for the 24-hour of Spa, and not to mention the FRECA paddock, which is further down and in amongst that of the Blanchimont section. So every ounce of the circuit being utilised here this weekend, and there you can see the Formula Regional cars currently sat in the pit lane getting ready to go out for the start of this session. Now the timer is ticking downwards as we speak. We are into the within 50 minutes, and race control have deemed it a wet track. So going back to what I was saying with the rain last night, it has played a factor, certainly as far as race control are concerned. So they have deemed it a wet track here today. So it certainly won't necessarily be the grip levels that we saw from yesterday's sessions, and we might not necessarily see the 215s that we witnessed yesterday as well. So more onus on the drivers now to manage the situation. There you can see the damp patches as well. they're very clearly on show, and that's at Eau Rouge and Raidillon. Now, while this has been extended, this part of the circuit, it has obviously seen many changes here at Spa. It's still a very, very fast section of track, and naturally when you take that very sharp incline, that elevation rise heading up through towards the Kemmel Straight, it can still set you off. So again, the drivers still have to manage that very fact as well. And now you can see them making their way out onto the circuit. There is the MP Motorsport cars, of course. All three of them will be part of this particular session. We'll see how they get on as well. All of them will be looking to try and gain something positive, of course, being that of Sami Megatunif, Delano Van Hoff, and that of Victor Bernier. Now you can see them now making their way out of the pit escape, heading up towards the Kemmel Straight and towards Les Combes. So, who's it going to be? Obviously, there you can see the drivers already warming up the tyres. Very conscious of the fact that they need to try and get as much stickiness onto the compounds as possible, onto this Pirelli rubber. Pirelli rubber, of course, representing right through the weekend. So after speaking to the drivers on the way in after the collective test, they've said that it's not too difficult to manage, given the fact that it's the same manufacturer pretty much across the board here this weekend. So no concerns in terms of cross-matching rubber out on track. So let's wait and see who comes out on top. There is, of course, the two Trident cars making their way through. Now see more and more of them make their way through towards the Les Combes section. RPM also looking for another strong run. Santiago Ramos, the feel-good factor in Group A yesterday, the fastest man in his group, and was certainly very much a prominent force after coming back off the return of Hungaroring, obviously, where they picked up 2 P3s during that race weekend. And again, we're seeing a consistent theme, battling for track space, no one keen to certainly spread out and fan out, shall we say, and find that clean air. There's Tim Tramnitz, of course, as part of our race GP, the man who would go fastest yesterday, and will be on pole position for Saturday morning's race as well. Already a race winner this season as well, Tim Tramnitz. 2 wins at Barcelona after keeping Andrea Kimi Antonelli at bay as well. And, no doubt we'll look to try and galvanise yet another strong performance for our race GP. As we alluded to as well, last season he was with the Trident team, partnering with the likes of Roman Belinsky. He was also in this session as well, but has now since chosen to adopt the R-Race GP car this season. That has certainly had oodles amount of success here in this very championship, and currently lead the team's championship this season as well, with the coupled efforts of Tim Tramnitz and Martini Stenshorn. But just a reminder as to how the system works here in qualifying, because obviously, as I alluded to, 2 groups will head out. Group B here this time around, they will open up the session here in qualifying 2. Now the grids are decided. The fastest car throughout the entirety, through both groups, they will be on pole position, and that driver's said group. So for example, if it's Tim Tramnitz who goes fastest here in Group B, then Group B as a result will line up behind him in the qualifying order that they established in this session. They will adopt that one side of the grid, with Tramnitz, for example, on pole. The other side then of the grid will be Group A, with the fastest man in Group A at the front of that. So for argument's sake, Santiago Ramos will be on the front row for tomorrow's opening race, because he was the fastest driver in his group, and the rest of his group will line up behind him too. So it's a group either side, the fastest man at the top of either one. The decider for pole is the man who's fastest overall, as we now see the cars make their way down through towards La Source once again. 10 minutes and 30, we are now well within it. Group B now getting themselves set for a fast run. There's Roman Belinsky, who's looking to try and bounce back. I caught up with him just briefly yesterday, and he looked a little disappointed with the way things had panned out, and obviously looking to try and turn things around here. And, no doubt he is a tenacious character, very, very quick, determined as well, as he makes his way up through towards Eau Rouge and Raidillon. Then hurtling up through towards Les Combes as well. He's going to be joined by Owen Tangavelu in this session as well. Again, a little bit of side-by-side action heading through towards Les Combes as well. There are the 2 MP Motorsport cars as well, 2 of them at least. There's 3 in this session. Josh Dufek as well in this group as well. We just saw him make his way through. RPM already with a car in the pits. So, but making its way straight away back out again, as they now make the climb heading up. And of course, Adam Fitzgerald, Matteo Capietto representing here in this session. They will have Santiago Ramos coming out, of course, the man who go fastest yesterday in Group A. He, of course, will be part of Group A again, going out after Group B. Another car, that's the Santaloc team, making their way back out as well. car 73, belonging to that of Emerson Fittipaldi Jr. And such a heritage in this family as well, certainly where it comes to single-seater racing, feeder series racing, leading up towards Formula One. And still burns bright in today's era as well. Of course, Emerson Fittipaldi, himself a legend of the sport, is here this weekend as well, as he always is with Emerson Fittipaldi Jr. Supportive, certainly, to try and achieve the big results, build his career, and showing certainly a lot of promise. And now we see plenty of the drivers make their way through towards Blanchimont now. 8 minutes and 40 to go. As they circle this very high-speed section, you can leave the foot planted around that left-hander. Again, you can just see them furiously getting the rubber heated up. The times will start flickering in now. Such a short window, obviously, for these drivers to maximize their potential. So really, they've only got a matter of a few laps that they can set under, shall we say, fast lap conditions. And especially here, when the track is a little bit damp, it can make it all the more difficult. As now we see Tim Tramnitz around turn 1 now, heading out of the source, just a little tweak of the rear on the car as well. Don't want to end up in the gravel trap. Of course, we saw a little bit of that last season as he now takes the climb through towards Eau Rouge and Raidillon. Foot planted to the floor now as they make the rise. And I tell you what, the slope on the Kemmel Straight, if you've ever been on this track as well, it certainly is a lot more daunting than you would first expect. And naturally now, Tramnitz will keep his foot down and send it up through towards the next slalom section, heading through towards Les Combes now. Already Antonelli finding improvements in the first sector. Bank collapse already put into place by some of the drivers. Hadrian David currently at the top of all of those, but we'll now see the proper laps come in now. Already more improvements from Antonelli as well, chasing his first win this season. Of course, has been one of the most consistent drivers as well in this championship. Has delivered some really stellar results as well. Plenty of podiums, 3 podiums to boot. Imola in race 1, Barcelona as well, where he would do a double. Race 1 and race 2 came slightly unstuck though at Hungaroring. A couple of issues came into play, but still very much part of this championship. Comes into the weekend second in the standings behind that of Martinius Stenshorn. As now we see the Prema make its way up towards the line. What's Antonelli going to give us? Certainly does go fastest with a 2:16.696, and definitely the damp conditions playing a factor here at this stage. A 2:16.696, certainly not the 2:15s that we were seeing yesterday, but granted there is still certainly more time to go. So you can certainly imagine we're going to be getting more and more times lobbied. The drivers will build the confidence more and more, but Antonelli setting first blood here with the 2:16.696. 2:17.843 for Levente Ravesh, who currently sits in second. Hadrian David still holds on to third, but we're now going to see more times come in, and Megatunif has stolen that fastest middle sector. And he's done very nearly a minute flat through that segment of corners now, as we see Tim Tramnitz come through the bus stop chicane. Foot back to the floor here for Tramnitz as he makes his way up towards the line. What can he issue? Can he once again go strong as he did yesterday? Second fastest for Tramnitz. Sets a purple third sector in the process as well. Megatunif still holding on to that second sector, fastest sector. He now goes fourth fastest as well. Tangavelu goes second fastest now as well. Belinsky to the top. Maya Wayug now to the top as well. She manages to enlist a fantastic lap. She was brilliant yesterday, managing to net together a P5 in her group as well. And now back to the top, Maya Wayug, once again with Roman Belinsky improving to second fastest. So finding a little bit of pace, a 2:16.501, just outside of Maya Wayug's time, nearly 2.5 tenths of a second separating them. So the gaps are coming down, the times are getting sharper. And our first 2:15 of the session as Matteo Capietto goes fastest of all, taking a purple sector 2 as well to boot. Maya Wayug posting the fastest third sector. I can already see improvements from Antonelli as well. He is finding a little bit more already as he looks to put the squeeze on the cars ahead of him. Now down to P5 at the moment in this order. Belinsky setting certainly a personal best in the first sector by 1/1000th of a second. Just goes to show every little detail counts here at this very circuit. Lots of runoff here as well, but you've got to be careful not to go over the white lines and overextend, especially heading around the very fast pace corner at formerly known as No Name now, as Antonelli goes to the top again with a fantastic time still to boot, a 2:15.808, and sets the purple second sector as well. So Antonelli determined as ever to try and get his car to the top end and qualify on that front row. It's vital, certainly, and if you can get a good run heading down towards the source, it could prove to be oh so valuable, especially here at Spa. And but plenty of opportunities for overtaking, certainly heading up through towards Les Combes as well. Tramnitz, though, setting that purple middle sector, 62 thousandths already gained on that time. And while he did not have the most ideal first sector, he certainly has shown that he's got more in the locker in sector 2, makes his way down in towards the bus stop chicane. Again, utilising every single curb, trying to find every apex possible to advance his cause. Heads up now towards the line. What's it going to be for Tim Tramnitz? It's P1 here in this group classification. He sets a purple second sector as well, a 2:15, 6:76 to boot as well. Maya Wayuk, fourth fastest. Josh Dufek, fifth fastest as well. Maya Wayuk putting in a stellar performance so far. Looking to try and enlist more devastating laps. Third fastest she goes now as well with a purple sector 3. Maya Wayuk looking absolutely sensational here this weekend, posting some serious sector times at this point, and currently holds on to that purple sector 3 to boot as well. Tangavelu is currently holding on to that purple first sector. He is working to try and lift himself from P8 on this grid order. Michael Belov goes 8th fastest as well. A little bit of traffic heading up the slopes as they make their way up through towards the Les Combes section. But a stunning performance from Maya Wayuk, who we're currently seeing on screen. Third fastest, and just look at the gaps as well. Within 1.5 tenths of a second of Tim Tramnitz right at the top. And no doubt that can be put to good use, but we've still got 2 minutes and 40 to go. Do not turn away, folks. This is about to get spicy. Antonelli finding as much grip as he can. He wants to try and bring the hammer down to Tim Tramnitz, the man who usurped him at Spain as well. It got oh so close between the pair. They both started on the front row in both races, and Tramnitz was able to get the upper hand on the Italian Andrea Kimi Antonelli as he now heads through the bus stop chicane now, puts his foot to the floor, plants it, heads down towards the line once again. What's he going to issue this time around? Obviously 2 minutes and 10. A lot of the drivers will get themselves prepared for this one final last chance to dance here in qualifying. Spa-Francorchamps now reverberating with the sound of engines as certainly the Tata chassis make their way up through towards Eau Rouge and Radion again. Prema, who have been ultimately oh so successful in this series, alluded to the fact that you have the likes of Dino Beganovic, Paul Aaron, of course from last season, who took the top results and have now since graced their presence in Formula 3. And many of these drivers will have that on their mind as well as we see Antonelli make his way up through towards the Les Combes section. We're going to try and find every which way, every little bit of apex possible. Has improved as well in the first sector as well. More cars coming up towards the line to get their laps underway as well. Alexander Partyshev still remains 17th fastest, trying to find that little bit more. Has improved in those sectors as well, so might be more to come from Partyshev. Antonelli, as we said before, very nearly finding a 10th of a second in the first sector. Makes his way down through towards the very vibrant in-swinger that is Pouon. Especially when you've got a moist track, it can be so treacherous at this point, but certainly Antonelli managing it exceptionally well. Making his way through now the next chicane section. And, making his way through the Lafanier chicane before then venturing down through towards Campus and Stavolo. Look at that, you can just see the car vibrating as it makes its way over the curves. Antonelli giving absolutely everything in this lap as he now makes his way around Stavolo towards Corbeil-Port Frere, using all the circuit, trying to maximize every single moment. It has gone purple in that second sector as well, so plenty on the table for Antonelli. Can Tramnitz respond? He is already green in the first sector himself, has actually found more time in the first sector than that of Antonelli, but Antonelli holding on to that purple middle sector, and he has broken a minute as well. It's a 59.941. This could be a huge lap for Antonelli, but look at the traffic, goodness me. Talk about bad timing. He's caught up in all the furore, and that might actually stop him from setting his fastest lap to boot today. And certainly the time has ticked downwards. There is no time left, and Antonelli comes up towards the line. What's this going to be? Was he hindered in that final sector? He was. Lost a lot of time. So that hunt for the fastest lap here in Group B looks like it's been for naught, and now Tramnitz has a chance of closing out the end of qualifying with a stellar result yet again here against Andrea Kimi Antonelli. We do have the yellow flag being waved. They're calling the cars back in. Antonelli, despite that blistering middle sector, it was all undone come sector 3. And unfortunately, due to all the traffic out on track heading down towards the bus stop chicane, it simply wasn't to be. So Tim Tramnitz will top the order here in this group. We do have a couple of cars still making their way around. Tramnitz being one of them as they head up towards the bus stop chicane here in sight, pursuing Alexander Partyshev as they make their way around. There they are now, folks, making their way down through towards the source. But Tramnitz once again scores a big result here in qualifying, a 2:15.554. Not too dissimilar from the time that he set yesterday. Still very much in good form. Tramnitz yesterday setting a 2:15.358. Today, it is slightly different, a 2:15.554, but in wet conditions, what was deemed a wet track by race control. That is his superb lap from Tim Tramnitz. Andrea Kimi Antonelli would be wondering what could have been after a sensational sector 2, a 59.941 in the middle sector, and it could have given him a huge result here. But ruined the traffic, obviously heading down towards bus stop. That is really unfortunate. And does happen. We saw a little bit of it yesterday. Granted, it was in the initial, while the drivers were getting themselves set to sort of get their first laps underway at the start of the session. This time it came at the end of the session. And unfortunately now has hindered Antonelli's progress here in Group B. But Tim Tramnitz up at the sharp end. And we'll take a look at the results from Group B as well. Here are the confirmation of the results from the Group B session here in qualifying 2. Tim Tramnitz for RSGP back at the top. He's getting oh so used to it. Andrea Kimi Antonelli in second as well, despite being unable to convert that middle sector. A great effort nonetheless. Meo Weyug, what a performance as well. Third fastest, and definitely continuing the great run from yesterday. Matteo Capietto in 4th, Victor Bernier in 5th, Joshua Dufek in 6th, Roman Belinsky in 7th, Michael Belov in 8th, Owen Tangavelu in 9th, Hadrian David in 10th, Delano Van Top in 11th place with Sami Megatunev in 12th, Emerson Fittipaldi Jr. in 13th with Levente Ravesh in 14th place, Giovanni Maschio in 15th, Alexander Partyshev in 16th place with Adam Fitzgerald and RPM in 17th place. Well, as Tim Tramnitz up at the top, he will celebrate, certainly that one I'm sure. A determined young man who is looking to succeed in this series like many have done in the past, and chasing the dream certainly of advancing through the feeder series ladder, and a great basis here at Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine to bring drivers to the forefront, and yet again we're seeing it here at Spa-Francorchamps as we get ready for the next session of qualifying. It'll all be down to the next group. Of course, that'll be Group A. There's Hadrian David, and marking his return to the championship again. And we're now seeing the cars line up. There is Tim Tramnitz's car, currently left stagnant now. And we've got the highlights here from the session, our previous qualifying session. And certainly it was a busy one. Obviously it wasn't necessarily as chaotic at the start this time around, but this man, Andrea Kimi Antonelli, gave it absolutely everything and certainly gave a stellar showing. Wasn't quite able though to take the top time, but nevertheless, plenty of feel-good factors. Tim Tramnitz was certainly one of the fastest drivers out on track, delivering a fantastic P1 shot. But nevertheless, it will be him leading the way here in this group, with Antonelli in second place. There's Tim Tramnitz, folks, making his way through the bus stop chicane, delivering yet another clinic here in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. What will happen when we go racing later on? Obviously, though, it's up to the next group. Who's going to be on pole position? Will Tramnitz's time be trumped? Obviously, the speed on the track will be a little bit more elevated given the fact that the temperature is up. Tramnitz giving them a hand, but Tramnitz delivering in stellar fashion. And onwards we go now to Group A here in qualifying 2. And this is where we see the likes of Martinius Stenjorn, Kaz Havercourt, Lorenzo Flusha, Santiago Ramos, Rafael Camara, who you currently see on screen, the man who was fastest in collective test 1 this weekend. And he'll be looking to bring Kramer to the top as well as Antonelli attempted to do so. Let's see if he can go one step further this time around. Obviously now the time to beat will be Tim Tramnitz's to decide who gets pole position for this afternoon's race. And more and more cars now venturing out onto the track. There's the Santa Lock just in behind that of the Prema. There's Kamara's car. See Lorenzo Flusha already making his way out onto the circuit. We saw him earlier on as well. So Nikhil Bora also in this contingent, Laurens van Hoopen, Matthias Sagazeta, Alessandro Giusti, Marcus Amand, who unfortunately was given a 2-place grid penalty yesterday after interfering with Matthias Sagazeta in yesterday's qualifying session. So unfortunately, it's going to have to try and fight back against that deficit. Further down, Esteban Masson as well, with Joshua Dirksen, Enzo Scionti, as well as Kirill Smal and Lucas Medina, with Niels Kuhlen and Tom Leben once again returning, this time in Group A as well. The timer now ticking downwards. As it does so, we're going to witness plenty of the cars now get ready for yet another blistering set of laps. It's all down to this moment, the final qualifying session of the weekend here in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. Who is going to be on pole position? Of course, here in this group as well, Kaz Havercourt. We've got to talk about the man from no less the Van Amersfoort team, who has been part of them now for quite a long time. Of course, has gone through the system, of course, appearing for MP Motorsport at the very start of his time in Formula Regional. And now here, of course, with Van Amersfoort, third season in Formula Regional with a Spanish F4 Championship under his belt and a Vice WSK Karting Championship as well. Very talented and does hold a lot of cards in his favour. A race winner as well in this championship too. And, will no doubt be looking to strive for big results this weekend. Rafael Camara, the one to watch, because of course he was the man who would go fastest of all in collective test 1. You'll be looking for a big result. But what about Santiago Ramos as well? We alluded to the fact that he, of course, was absolutely venomous yesterday out on circuit, managed to achieve an almighty result, and unfortunately getting trumped, obviously, by Tramnitz's time due to the fact that you could argue the track was a little bit warmer for Tramnitz's lap. But nevertheless, don't take anything away from Santiago Ramos. A stellar lap to top his group yesterday. He's going to be looking to do exactly the same thing again. Can lightning strike twice here at Spa-Francorchamps? There's Martinius Stenshorn, the current championship leader as well this weekend, and a rookie in this championship as well, representing RACE GP, who have just had Tramnitz go to the top for their team. Stenshorn is going to look to do exactly the same and holds 3 wins this season from Imola in race 1, taking 2 wins at Hungaroring as well. An amazing feat for a young man such as him, certainly in his rookie season in these cars, and 4 podiums as well. If you consider Imola, race 1 taking the victory, P2 then in race 2, Hungaroring delivering, as I said before, 2 wins to his name. Stenshorn leading the championship. Can he once again bounce back? Didn't have the best of days yesterday, but has it in his locker, obviously, to bounce back this time around. And everything matters, everything counts. We allude to the fact that Antonelli, of course, with him achieving the P2s that he has done, the consistency, that's exactly what you need when it comes to this championship as a whole. And if you consider RACE GP's lineup, it is the consistent podiums, the consistent top-end performances that have garnered the team their top of the championship status with 171 points ahead of the Prema team. It certainly is getting feisty up at the top. Van Amersfoort in third in the title race as well, with Kaz Havercourt representing them, spearheading the lineup this weekend for them, but also Josh Dufek and Niels Kuhlen, who of course represents in Group A as well. So Van Amersfoort very well represented here in this Group A contingent of qualifying. Let's wait and see what they can bring to the table as now we see the cars make their way through the first sector. That's Tom Leben coming all the way from the United Kingdom. He was competed in GB3, third place in that championship as well, and a race winner, knows how to win races, and looking to try and build on the start of his season as well. Alpine Motorsport still chasing their first points as a team in this championship, currently lying 9th in the standings, just in behind that of ART, who sit with 18 points to their name as well in 8th place. But Tom Leben, a very, very fast driver and carries a lot of ability here in this championship. Let's wait and see what the cars can deliver. We've now hit the final 10 minutes here in this session, and already now we're seeing the Sector 1 times come in. Of course, looking back, it is indeed Lorenzo Fluscher currently holds on to the purple first sector at this point. Second sector for Marcus Amand, but obviously a lot of these are out laps and will be brought down considerably when, of course, they go full throttle around this circuit of Spa. You can just see them still working on the tyres, getting them up to temperature, as we saw as well in Group B. And obviously as well, they've got to be cautious of track limits. We alluded to the fact that a couple of decisions were made by the stewards yesterday. Of course, Joshua Dirksen having his removed. And he is once again in this session. Of course, having the time deleted initially around turn 10, which forced him down to P5 after having his earlier lap stated as his fastest one, but had his fastest lap reinstated, of course, after hours, as they revised the footage, re-looked at the footage, and witnessed that he did indeed stay within track limits. So Joshua Dirksen will get to start tomorrow's race from P3 in his group. So a sensational effort from him. As you know, see the cars make their way down through towards turn 1 yet again. This time it's the RPM driver, Santiago Ramos, who we see on screen, the man who would go fastest in Group A yesterday. Can he muscle up some of the same this time around as well? Will certainly be a great feat for a driver such as him, looking to try and bolster the RPM team, who is certainly on the rise, and the team who, in their infancy in this particular championship, of course, only recently getting involved in single-seaters in this series, but are constantly growing and striving for better as time goes on. And now Ramos certainly adding more strings to their bow here at this point as they make their way through towards the Lecom section. Need to try and keep it pinned through this section as well, because Malmedy comes up next. Watch out for the gravel on the left-hand side as well. Use all the curb. You see the gravel being flicked up in behind as well. Just goes to show how much these drivers are pushing to try and achieve the best they can. Heading through Rivage, and then they'll streak through this next left as well. This, of course, the place. This is turn 10, where some of the drivers have to be careful. You see the white line there. If they cross that, they will have an invalidation brought upon them by the stewards. But again, it's all down to the drivers to try and unlock every ounce of this circuit to benefit and increase the possibilities of a great performance. Santiago Ramos, as you would expect, green in the first sector, finding 2.2 in that first sector as well. The purple second sector, though, being taken by Marcus Amand. It's now been instantly taken away by Lorenzo Flusha as well, who currently sits second in our timing screen. Niels Kuhlen, currently 11th, has just stolen the first fastest sector. Martini Stenshaw now takes the second sector, purple sector. As now we see Ramos make his way down through towards the latter stages of this lap, finding more and more improvements as time goes on. Alessandro Giusti currently holding time at the top, but obviously that lap being set as they set the bankers. Kaz Havercourt to the top, Marcus Amand setting a 2:17. We haven't yet seen the 15s. 2:16 from Flusha. Nikhil Bora now into second. Niels Kuhlen in third as well. Lucas Medina lines up in fifth as well. Martinius Stenshaw to the top. A sensational 2:15.472. A fantastic lap from Martinius Stenshaw early on, not messing around, certainly not leaving any time delays. Joshua Dirksen second fastest, ahead of Ramos, who's now third. Tom Leben up to fourth as well. But Stenshaw not leaving it late whatsoever. 33 thousandths back now. Kamara as well, second fastest for the Prema. Incredible laps already on display in this very early part of the session. We still have time to go, so what else can these teams deliver? What else can the drivers deliver? But Martinius Stenshaw, the championship leader, back to the top again in these initial bursts here in qualifying 2 Group A. And already showing improvements again in the first sector, 51 thousandths in sector 1. Green in this stint as he now makes his way down through towards Rivage yet again. He'll keep it pinned on the inside. You hear a slight squeal as he gets the car tied into the inside. He'll then loop it through around the Jochenring curve, around the Jackie X curve, shall I say, making his way down through towards the next left as well, through towards Pouon. Again, very, very fast-paced section. Be very careful not to extend. Oh, we just see him there make a little mistake. Did move over the curbs there. That might cost him, as he now looks to sleuth around now the Le Farnier chicane now. Again, you've got to try and keep it tight. Try and keep it tight to the inside, then loop back through. Give yourself a nice bit of exit speed and a tidy line heading through towards Campus and Stavelo. Martinius Stenshaw looking very dialed in. Obviously didn't have the most fortuitous, and has incidentally lost time in that second sector due to that little moment over the curb. So unfortunately, he'll have to go again, but certainly the time he's already set will be a difficult one to beat. Kamara getting within 33 thousandths. I'm just looking to see whether the Kamara's improved. He has. Kamara, incidentally, faster than Stenshaw in the first sector. So while 51 thousandths was found by Stenshaw in the first sector, Kamara has found a little more than that, as we now see Stenshaw make his way through the bus stop chicane and heads down towards the line as well once again, where he'll close out this lap. And indeed just getting himself prepped for yet another run. 4 minutes and 30 still to go. RSGP sure will be delighted to see once again their man up at the top. And it could be a front row lockout for the race later on in terms of RHGP cars. Travis and Stenchon, but Kamara, as I said, now to the top with a massive 2:15.282. A sensational run there from Rafael Kamara. Of course, I alluded to the fact he was faster than Stenchon in the first sector, and he's managed to achieve that P1 spot. And here's the replay. This was the moment, of course, certainly for Martinier Stenchon, when he rounded Pouon, just overextended. We speak about the overextension, just a little wiggle of the car as he made his way over the curb, and unfortunately that cost him a lot of time heading through that middle sector, and that was where the time was lost. So he's now got to try and reset, but now it's Rafael Kamara with the advantage. Prema now back on the top with Rafael Kamara, 2:15.282, a massive lap from Kamara. Joshua Dirksen still holding on to third. Kirill Small in sixth fastest as well. Just looking across the board now, we are seeing some improvements as well. Alessandro Giusti finding a little bit of time in the first sector. Lawrence Van Hoopen as well at 39.7. He's just set a 45 in this sector, so on a cool-down run, at least for now, to prepare for perhaps one last lap. There's Kamara. He's currently on a slow lap this time around. He might look to try and just reduce the pace a little bit, get his car teed up for one final run. 2:15.282 enlisted for Kamara. What a lap, and we'll see whether that can garner him a front row spot. Certainly it will grant him, of course, pole position come the race later on today. And, should it stay like this, he'll be side by side with Tim Tramnitz. So while it will be a Prema and an RHGP up on the front row of the grid like it was in Barcelona, this time it's Kamara and not Antonelli. But Kamara showing all the promise, as he has done in his junior career, as we're now seeing the RPM motorsport car also make its way round. That, of course, belonging to that of Santiago Ramos, the man who went fastest yesterday, currently sat 4.5 tenths of the realm away from the top end. Kamara still at the top, though. And, as you can see now, the car's getting ready to look for track position, ready for the final runs here in qualifying. It's Kamara, Stenchon, Dirksen and Ramos as they now look to venture down through towards Les Sources once again. Turn one beckons. In comes the RPM car now of Santiago Ramos. Can he find a little bit of late promise now here in the dying moments of qualifying two, as he now looks to try and put the throttle down, heads up through towards Eau Rouge and Radion. One of the most iconic sections of circuit in the world of motorsport now, as the RPM motorsport car climbs its way through this section. He'll then take the rise heading through towards the Kemmel Straight as well. Next on his list will be a venture around Les Combes. Again, hearing more squealing of the cars as they look to try and maximize everything in these cars. It's now or never for all of these drivers now as he ventures through towards Les Combes now. Malmedy will be next. Keep it tight, keep it pinned as he now ventures through. Be careful not to overextend on the left-hand side. Does it exceptionally well. There's a car coming back on as well. Now that looks to be, is that a Van Amersfoort car that has ventured off the track there? Is that Kaz Haberkorn, who currently sits in 12th place? Ramos, though, has improved and found an almighty amount of time in the first sector. But look at Kamara's time. He has got purple in that first sector. Nearly 2 tenths marshalled here. Stenchon losing out by 1,000th in the first sector, but still an improvement on his original lap, as now we're seeing the cars make their way through that middle sector. Kamara looking to try and elevate himself further. Could this be a 2:14? We've yet to see one here in this session so far. Could it be the case that Kamara can go as high as that here in qualifying, as we now see Ramos make his way through the latter sector? There's Kamara right behind him as well. He might be getting a little bit of a tow here as well. If he can get himself within Ramos's car, might be a little bit too much of an ask, though, at this point. Kamara losing time, though, in that second sector, so negating his efforts in sector one. He will not necessarily improve that much, but still might have something in the final sector as he now looks to peel around Blanchimont once again. Still improvements on hand for Santiago Ramos, but still needs a lot to fight. Stenchon still second fastest. Flusha goes third fastest. We got Nikhil Bora in 6th. Ramos still in 5th now. Dirksen reduced to 4th as more cars come across. Medina goes ahead of Shanti as well. More cars coming across the line. Can anyone improve up at the top end? Ramos goes third fastest as well. A blistering lap after setting a purple third sector at 2:15.440. 1:43 up at the sharp end, but Kamara at this stage looks like he's going to bring it home. Joshua Dirksen remaining in 5th as well. Flucia, what a lap for the other Prema as well, but it's Rafael Kamara, everybody. He is the fastest man here in qualifying, and a stellar lap at 2:15. 1:10, did find a little extra in that final sector after losing a little bit of time in sector 2. Purple in the first sector, an improvement. Green in that final sector, 35.463. There's Alessandro Giusti, who makes his way down through towards the latter sector, not able to improve in those first 2 sectors, certainly by a huge amount, but nevertheless, a stellar showing. And what a competitive certainly session we've had here. It's certainly very close to a 2:14. If Kamara was able to find that little bit more in sector 2, what could have been a mere 1/10 of a second plus away from a 2:14 lap, but it will be enough to give him pole position ahead of what has been a very, very busy qualifying session. Martini Stenshorn, second fastest, back to the front end as well for Stenshorn. And if he can get a good start, that will give him an opportunity at fighting for the lead of the race, but we will have to wait and see whether that can be delivered. All the drivers now back in the pit lane, and they will soon be met with their teams as well. And obviously looking ahead later on, here are the results from qualifying to Group A. Rafael Kamara is your P1 sitter, and he will take pole when we go racing later on this afternoon. 2:15, 1:10. Martini Stenshorn in 2nd, Santiago Ramos in 3rd, Lorenzo Flucia in 4th as well, with Joshua Dirksen in 5th, Kirill Smal in 6th, with Nikhil Bora in 7th, Tom Leben in 8th, with Kaz Havercourt in P9, Alessandro Giusti in 10th place, with Matthias Zagazeta in 11th, Lawrence Van Hoopen in 12th, with Marcus Amand in 13th place, Esteban Masson in 14th, with Niels Coulin in 15th as well, 18th place further down as well, where we saw Medina further down, as well as Enzo Schianti in 17th. But there is Rafael Kamara, the fastest man on track. We'll go ahead to take the fastest time overall as well in both groups. So he will start on pole position for our race this afternoon. And we are going to take you through now, folks, the highlights of this session as well. And making their way out onto the track, out of the pit lane. It was a case of getting the tyres warm, and they left everything out on the circuit. A big moment for Martini Stenshorn while he was fighting for pole position. Gave it absolutely everything. It could have been a sensational lap. Kamara, though, delivering a sensational lap, though, and getting himself P1 here in this session as well. RPM also looking to chase with Santiago Ramos. He gave it everything here. Only managed 3rd fastest at this point, but it was Kamara out on top. And it's this man out on top. Rafael Kamara, Prema back in P1. Despite a lot of movement in the car, you just see him there controlling it through the iconic bus stop chicane. But it's Prema in P1, a position they're oh so used to. And once again, RSGP and Prema, the championship battle continues here at Spa. And we'll certainly see who will come out on top in that fight. As we said before, obviously coming into the weekend, the 2 teams at the top of the standings, 171 RSGP at the very top, 171 points to their name, with Prema in 2nd place, 131 points coming into the weekend, 40 points separate them, and a big result here at Spa could yet make all the difference here this weekend. Van Amersfoort obviously will be looking to try and fight back. Kaz Havercourt with a little bit of work to do, P9 here in this session. Of course, can he find some places here in the race this afternoon? Obviously, plenty of drivers looking to fight for places, but the front row looks mouth-watering here later on. And certainly you can come and join us later on this afternoon as well. Don't forget to tune in, of course, this afternoon at in the mid-afternoon, where we will have action. Plenty of cars out on track. It's going to be a huge battle here at Spa under the cloud cover and also the blue sky as well. Join us this afternoon where we go racing here at Formula Regional European Championship.